when I first started playing music, it was really just, I mean, it's always just been for fun. And then suddenly, like, I started Best Coast, and all of a sudden it was like my job. And now, you know, I travel all the time, and I never really expected for this to become my job. And I never really expected for people to care about, like, my personal life and the things that I do, like, outside of music. Just getting asked to do, like, you know, so many different things and work with so many different people is, like, a really big achievement, and it's really, you know, special when other artists that you respect, like, appreciate your art enough to ask you to work with them. I think that everything that's kind of happened within the last, like, couple of years, or I guess really only year since I've been doing Best Coast, has all been very surprising and very exciting. So I guess just when I started Best Coast, like, everything changed. It's different than anything I've ever done before, like, creatively. So I guess Best Coast kind of changed everything for me. I am obsessed with California. I mean, I was born and raised in Los Angeles, so it's like it's my home, so it's, you know, everybody kind of, like, has a fascination with where they're from. And it's definitely, like, my favorite place to be. When I'm not on tour, I'm just normally just at home relaxing, which is my favorite thing on earth to do. But yeah, I love California, and I've kind of, like, created the aesthetic of Best Coast is very much like California pride and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, definitely a fan of California. East Coast, I've lived on the West Coast my whole life, and then I moved to New York for a couple of months, and it's not that I didn't like it, but it was just a very different kind of lifestyle. It's very fast-paced there, and it's very, like, it's cold. It gets really cold there, and it doesn't get very cold in California all the time, so that's nice. But yeah, I have a lot of pride for where I'm from, and I wanted to kind of have a band name that showed people that. So I think that if you see the band name Best Coast, you obviously know that I'm a fan of California or the West Coast. So the Beatles are definitely, like, the first band that I ever really remember, like, getting into, and that was really because of my parents. Like, they listened to a lot of music when I was a kid, and I definitely remember the Beatles being, like, one of the first bands that I was like, I really like this. I like, it was like a personal choice. It wasn't just something that, like, I heard in the house, so I was kind of forced to listen to it. It was like a band that I wanted to go out and explore on my own. And I think that, like, rock music wouldn't exist the way that it does without a band like the Beatles. So I think that, like, if you're a musician and you say you're not influenced by the Beatles, you're lying, because you can't really make pop music without, you know, using the influences of the Beatles, because they kind of created. I started writing music when I was probably, like, 15. I was like a teenager, and I just I mean, I had always performed music, but I think I, like, reached a realization where I was like, oh, you can actually make your own music. You don't have to just, like, perform other people's music. So I started playing the piano and guitar and writing stuff. And I just kind of never stopped. I just kept doing it. But I mean, there is definitely a thing of you know, like, there's a definite, like, worry a lot when you're a writer. Like, you get afraid, like, will I never be able to write again? And sometimes you go to write and it's just not the right time, and you can't come up with anything. And I think that that's okay. And I just like to write very kind of, like, simple, relatable lyrics. To me, like, the thing that inspires me the most is just, like, you know, daily life, like relationships and, you know, like, human emotions and stuff that everybody, any age, any gender, like, anything can relate to. So I just kind of write lyrics that I think anybody could listen to them and be like, okay, I understand what she's talking about. For this specific project, it's just something that I've chosen to keep very simple. And when I was living in New York and going to school for creative writing, I wasn't really writing music at the time. I was just there kind of focusing on writing. I was working there as like a nonfiction writer, so I was there kind of focusing on that and sort of put music to the side. And then of course realized that I didn't want to be doing what I was doing, and then fled back to California and started making music again. So I think it's like when you leave something and then it comes back to you unintentionally, I think that's when you kind of realize it's like, okay, this is what I'm meant to be doing.